I'm from the batch of.
Hi, Sivani. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Subhanay Subramanian. I'm from the batch of 2011, same batch as Satish and Enbasekar, in fact, our guests for today. And I volunteer for the IIT Foundation and currently work at Google, helping build some of the AI systems that Google builds for accelerating machine learning. And I'm quite excited to have my batchmates here talk about their journey in building their startup. Right. Station, do you want to?
Yeah, my name is Station, 1968, Tapki Hostel, mechanical engineering. And I'm the old man around here. I'm 76 going on 77 in October. But I started the foundation and I'm delighted to have all of you participate. And the goal is to have, alumni engage not only with each other, which the Alumni Association in the US used to do, but have the alumni engage with the alma mater, with the long-term goal of working with students, faculty, and postdocs. And also, as you know, we helped establish the IIT Madras Incubation Cell, where many of you have started all these companies, particularly with students, but student faculty and student alumni, engagements. And so myself and Rajan Srikant have been working on that from 2012. And we're delighted to have you guys come and tell us how well you guys are doing. Thank you.
Awesome. Right. Kamal, can I ask you to go next?
Sure. Kamal Dugirala, mechanical batch of 81. I spent most of my career was in fintech, financial services and software. I right now volunteer as the chairman of the board of the IIT-M-Foundation. And we'll talk more about the foundation in a little bit. And absolutely, thrilled to see all these great entrepreneurs, come and share with us how they've done it. And each one has had a unique and interesting and actually quite exciting journey. Sometimes I guess not so smooth, but love to hear what you have.
Right, great. Aravind, can I ask you to go next?
Yes, hi, I'm Aravind Srinivasan, class of 89 computer science. I then got my PhD from Cornell. I work as a professor of computer science at the University of Maryland, College Park, and I'm also an Amazon scholar with AWS. My interests are in algorithms, optimization, and data science. As all of you, I'm sort of extremely grateful to IIT Madras, and over the years, I've personally maintained close contact, giving talks and so on, but I'd like to, deepen my engagement. It's wonderful to see all the changes there, as well as all the work that you folks are doing here. And thank you for doing this. I'm very happy to be part of the audience today.
All right, thanks. Nikhil?
First of all, apologies, I'm not on camera, I'm outside. So if you hear some noise in the background, please excuse me. I'm based in Menlo Park in California and work at Bain & Company as a partner in the San Francisco office. Been very fortunate to have worked with Anand before at Cosmics, and also had the privilege to interview Anand at one of the earlier sessions. And I was one of the people that dropped off early in what now I'm hearing was one of the longest running interviews. So I'm bummed to miss it, but very excited to hear about MediBuddy today. Thank you.
All right, Anand, can I maybe ask you to introduce yourself?
Anand Rajaraman, class of 1993 computer science, Alakananda Hostel. I've been a founder of two companies, Generally and Cosmics. And these days, I'm a partner at a venture capital firm called Rocket Ship, where we invest globally. And about a third of our portfolio is in India. India is the fastest growing piece of our portfolio, the most exciting investment destination in the world today. So it's largely due to the efforts of entrepreneurs like Satish and Enbasekar, who have made it so. They've created exciting companies. And it sort of gives me special pleasure in the case to interview Satish and Enbasekar in particular, because I've sort of been involved in their entrepreneurial journey right from the beginning when they got started. So I could see the whole evolution of this company. Typically as an investor, sometimes you come in very early, sometimes you come in somewhere along the way in the middle when the company is already going. In this case, it was my privilege to have been there from the beginning and witness these guys grow. So it gives me great pleasure to be here and interview them.
Okay, that's great. So anyway, we'll have Satish and Enba talk about their journey for the rest of the hour. So I'll sort of switch to Andrea, who's helps us sort of run all of these sessions and so on. So Andrea, maybe a quick word from yourself.
Sure. My name is Andrea Monaghan, and I serve as the executive assistant and the development associate, and get to work closely with the volunteers and help keep them on track in a way, because they're all so busy and yet so passionate and so committed to IIT-M-Foundation. It's very moving for me to witness that. And I also connect with donors and just in terms of helping them know ways that they can donate, making sure that they're getting reports and just different ways for logistics and so on for the process. So thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and I can't wait to hear this morning's talk. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Andrea. So yeah, maybe we can kick things off. So since we have everyone on the call, thanks all for the intro. So hi, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this month's Director Circle series hosted by the IIT Madras Foundation, where we chat with IITM alumni on a range of topics. And this year, we have been putting the spotlight on entrepreneurs with the theme titled How I Built Tech. And we have an inspiring set of guests today, Enbasekar and Satish, co-founders of MediBuddy, which is India's largest digital healthcare platform. And moderating today's session, we have Anand, who himself, as he said, was a guest earlier this year and has also been a serial entrepreneur, founding Jungly, Cosmix, and many others. So it's a great pleasure to have you all here. And I look forward to a wonderful session to hear about your journey in building this particular enterprise. Before we get started, maybe I can ask Kamal to just say a few words about the IIT Madras Foundation and what we do.
Sure. I think I'm going to assume you know some, but maybe not too much about the foundation. But as you do know, the Alumni Association, both in India and in the US and in other parts of the world, has existed for quite a long time. The role of that entity has been primarily to provide a social sort of professional network for alumni. And about 10 years ago, none other than Satish here and a few others identified the need for a more focused entity to raise funds and specifically to create an endowment. And I'm assuming, Satish, some of this was inspired by the experience of the universities here, who, as you know, raise significant amount of money from alumni in order to do things that they otherwise cannot do. I'm talking about, let's say, a typical state school. They get a certain amount of funding, and that's a good comparison with the IIT Madras. The government, funds them quite generously, but keeps everything within the box. Okay? So they can't have any money to do, research or this incubation. So those would be outside the kind of range that the government may fund. So since that time, the foundation has really established itself as a successful fundraising entity. We've raised 25 million, mostly in the last 5 years, actually, but it took a few years to get the entity set up. And obviously, we work in close partnership with IIT Madras. And our main purpose, if you will, is to identify opportunities which would be attractive for alumni funding, such that the institute can also move forward. So that's kind of the ongoing exercise to identify projects, as well as endowment, like scholarships, professor chairships. These are some of the more common endowment items. And it's been a fantastic experience to volunteer. I would encourage all of you. Obviously, we all have serve a limited term and then turn the reins over to the next group that comes in. So this is I would say what Satish, probably third generation at this point. Yeah, after you and then Vijay. Yeah, So our hope is this creates a platform for strong alumni engagement in a different way, in a way that can actually drive the success of the Institute more directly. So I certainly encourage all of you to get involved as well when you have an opportunity. With that, let's back to Suvine.
Yep, thanks a lot, Kamal. And we can now hand the reins to Anand to kick things off. Yeah.
Thanks, Vinay. So that was a great introduction to IIT-M-Foundation as well. And that as we go through, you'll hear that there is a connection to IIT-M-Foundation and MediBuddy as well. That'll come out in the course of the interview. Satish, it's great having you here. Let me start with maybe one question to just establish a sort of a background or a baseline for the rest of the interview. Suvine mentioned that MediBuddy is the largest digital healthcare platform in India. Can you sort of give us a sense of the scale of MediBuddy and what does largest healthcare platform mean in India?
Absolutely, and thank you all for inviting me and Inba and MediBuddy to the talk. Quick introduction about me first, and then I'll talk a little about MediBuddy. So I'm Satish Kannan. I'm co-founder and CEO of MediBuddy. I'm 2012 electrical engineering dual degree graduate and Jamuna Hostel. So that's sort of where I got in 2007, got out in 2012. Then worked with Philips Healthcare. So wanted to work in the intersection of healthcare and technology, and then left Philips Healthcare and sort of started out the company. So quickly about MediBuddy. What MediBuddy is, it's a end-to-end digital healthcare platform. So in the sense, a patient can access multiple healthcare services through their mobile app or the website. And you can start with a video consultation. That means you can talk to a doctor or a specialist doctor on a video call. You can also book an appointment, meet the doctor at their clinics or at their hospitals. We run close to 300 clinics. So if you want to go to like the clinics and then meet the doctor, we run around 90 ambulances also under these clinics. Then after you complete the consultation with the doctor gives you a digital prescription. You can actually order these medicines through the platform itself, and the medicines will get delivered to your house. At the same time, the doctor tells you, why don't you do some blood test? So you will also get somebody, we call it phlebotomist. He would come to your house and pick up your blood samples and also get the reports back to you through the platform. And if after all of this, you're unable to solve the health issue, you can get admitted in a hospital. We call it IPD or inpatient. And this is called OPD, where you talk to a doctor, get medicines, get labs. But if you get admitted, we'll also help you find the right hospital and ensure that you have the right health information and you are directed correctly to the right doctor with the right support. And we also ensure that in case you are covered by insurance, you can get the payment done through the insurer. Sometimes your payment is done by your company. So it's called corporate back. Sometimes you pay out of your pocket. So that's sort of background. And today we are a team of 2,400 people. So all of us are based in India. So we have around 1,200 team members in Bangalore, and we have offices in around 21 cities across India. And we help more than like 35,000 patients on a daily basis. That's a quick background about me and MediBuddy. I would request Inba to maybe say a couple of words about him.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Enbasekar. I'm the CTO and co-founder here at MediBuddy. I'm from the same batch as Satish, electrical engineering 2012. Same hostel, same wing, and we have known each other for over 15 plus years now, and been on this exciting journey, from very early on, along with Satish.
Great. So Satish, so it's great. MediBuddy today is this huge organization that serves thousands of patients, 35,000 patients every day. But how did you guys decide to start a company? This is several years ago, and it was the startup culture was not yet very, just starting to take root. It's not very big at that point. So how did you guys decide to start a company? What made you do that?
I'll maybe quickly give context. Like I mentioned, me and Satish were both batchmates, so we had to be in the same classes together. We were in the same hostel wing. room neighbors even. So right from college, we were very keen on solving a lot of tech related problems. And one of the year we joined was also very interesting in the sense that there was a year CFI was set up in campus, the Center for Innovation, which was in fact backed by alumni of 1981 batch, and we were probably the lucky few who got to use the facility when it was, freshly laid out. We still rave about the epoxy flooring that used to be there, better than the hostel floors possibly sometimes when we used to, spend the night outs there. So we were participating in a bunch of projects, Shastra, and also enabled us, a lot to explore different sides of technology outside of the academics, of course. And in our third year of engineering, we also participated in a bunch of contests, and one of them was a Texas Instruments analog design contest. We were very keen to participate in it because not just from the experience point of view, it had a hefty prize award of about $10K for the winners, and that was a big amount of money at the time, right? So we worked hard and in fact came out as the national winners that year, and that in some sense also kickstarted our journey into healthcare as well, because during the project it was a healthcare device that we had helped build for cardiac use cases and for remote diagnosis using the device that we had built as a proof of concept. In that context, we spent a lot of time with doctors, hospitals in and around the campus in Adyar or Taramani or some of the larger hospitals in and around Chennai, like Stanley and others. And that's whenever we used to go see a doctor, the IIT students tag at least used to get us into the door. But whenever, we had to wait for the doctors to get free before we got to see them, right? And sometimes they'll call us to their clinic, sometimes at the hospital setup where they're working. Some of them used to work in a government hospital setups. So we could see the kind of challenges that a typical patient would go through across the various economic statuses across the country, and that got us started. It was also around the time Google Chat was popular in Insta as well. Even if you had to call our friend over to go to mess and have lunch together or go have a game of football, we used to chat a lot on Google Chat, right? And we were used, half the time when we were going to see doctors, most patients were there to have only a quick chat most of the time, typically a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation. So we used to wonder why a similar solution, a tech-based solution, can help these patients. And that's one of the, early, I would say, looking back, seeds that got us started in the healthcare space. So about the time we were graduating, so post this contest, we had some, prize money with us as well that gave us confidence that to start up early on. But when we graduated, we decided to, get some healthcare experience before launching the startups formally. I in fact got placed in a chip design kind of a profile in Qualcomm or NVIDIA and others, but I chose to drop the campus offer and decided to work in healthcare research, working on AI, ML on imaging data for diabetology kind of problems. And Satish at the time used to work in Philips Healthcare, again in a cardiology space, building CT scan sort of machines. And we used to exchange learnings, notes during that year, first year of post-graduation, right? And so along the way, we used to discuss and discover many ideas, what to start with, what is the right problem statements to solve. And post the year of experience, we dropped our respective jobs and then started on our startup journey. So that's how MediBuddy eventually came about, and very happy with the momentum and the impact that we have been able to create, from the seed of an idea that we had in campus.
That's awesome. So you guys started the company, and this was, I think, 2011, 2012 or something like that, right? So how did you go about raising funding initially for your company? And there was a role that IIT played in that as well. So it'd be good to hear that as well.
No, absolutely. And I think maybe I'll take that one. So it's true, right? So we sort of graduated 2012, spent some time in these companies, and then by 2013 end, we were thinking actually to come back and get started. So like always, where do you go? Right? You go back to IIT. So we went back to IIT, and then so at that time, IIT had just set up the IIT Madras incubation cell, and then I went and met Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala at that time, and then I was talking to him and about the startup, how we should think about it, and like we all know, capital is a very important. At least initial seed amount is very critical, and that is when again that is my first introduction to Anand, and so Anand and Venki had actually donated some money to IIT Madras incubation cell, and they had I think it was everybody used to get, every startup was selected, and they were given 5 lakh rupees per company. So that's sort of my like first investment into our company. So the first 5 lakh came from IIT. After, of course, we started building the product, and we built prototypes, what we call proof of concept, go to market, test them out. Then we raised some more money from accelerator. So a lot of accelerators now. In 2014, 13, 14 times number of accelerators were like very few. There was an accelerator called GSF Startup Angels or Startup Accelerator. And then we got some money from there. And so this was like, that was a very small money. That was like 16 lakhs. And they continue to keep growing, right? And continue to keep growing, continue to follow the customer, understood what the pain points were and building that. And then again, went back to Anand. So Anand gave the first actual real seed investment. Anand and Venki gave us $200,000. And that's sort of the journey. Then since then, it has been, I think, we've been growing consistently. We raised Series A, Series B, Series C. So we just closed a couple of months ago. The last round that we did was around $125 million. So that has been consistently helping us to build out the full technology platform and ensure that the idea has always been, how do we build a great technology platform that will transform the healthcare in the country and make high quality healthcare accessible to 1 billion people. And I think we are well on our way to sort of make that happen. And consistently, IIT has always been helpful, and alumni of IIT has been exceptionally supportive of not just of the investment, but also on critical junctures when we wanted to take decisions. They have been very, very supportive on giving us feedback, because a lot of them are great entrepreneurs, have built great businesses across the world, and they've been very supportive all through. So that's sort of a quick background on how we raise money and then continue to scale.
No, just to provide the last piece of context on that, we had set up this IIT Entrepreneurship Fund, and you guys were the first batch that benefited from that. Oh. But that money was routed through the IIT-M-Foundation to IIT-M. In fact, that entrepreneurship fund was one of the deadlines to get the IIT-M-Foundation started, because we had to start the IIT-M-Foundation to route that money to IIT-M. So that was the that was Kittu and me and Venki and all that back in the day. That was so you were the first beneficiaries at some level of the IIT as well. So that's kind of an interesting start. So when you guys initially, I remember there was this business plan competition, and you were selected, and your initial business plan looked nothing like what you're doing today. Okay, so it was in fact to build a medical device to do very cheap ECGs, as I recall, and that ended up. But along the way, like any good startup, any good founders, you did a couple of pivots to get to where you got. Perhaps you can talk about those pivots and how you changed your direction to get to where you finally got.
Sure. Anand, because Anand has been with our journey from very early on. He knows a lot of this details as well. So we started out with cardiac care, especially tele-cardiac care. We built out a ECG device which can remotely beam, the state of the heart of a cardiac patient to a cardiologist or a doctor who is sitting remotely. That's how the initial product that got us started was. But as we spent more time building, again, spending even more time with doctors, hospitals, patients, we continued the journey following the customer, right? And went on to, in fact, identify much larger opportunities in the, very adjacent areas. In fact, some of the early doctors used to, ask us question whenever we went to meet a cardiologist. There'll be other specialists asking, "Hey, why don't you smart IIT folks build something for us as well?" And that got us started, thinking much larger and much bigger in terms of the impact that we could create with the products or the skill sets that us and our teams were having. So we went on to provide a more comprehensive telehealth platform. It was very early those days, where doctors were typically averse to technology or anything, tele or telemedicines or teleconsultation was not necessarily the buzzword as it is today. But we found very good early takers, and we could see good traction with customers, and that's how our journey began into a more comprehensive healthcare space. And we continue to keep focusing on the customers, right? Keep going back to them to understand what's missing, what's the big challenges. But all along, even before when we had started up to till now, the consistent focus has been on providing healthcare space. So that way I would say, while we were the right space, we continue to innovate and provide and kept adding more and more services at MediBuddy. And while we were doing this at scale and in a digital form, there was also a lot of innovations that we could bring about by understanding what the users were going through. One of them was to help the doctors with a lot of technology that we were able to build to make them very, very efficient. Doctors in India are typically very, very busy. So we had to build a lot of tech-driven, NLP-driven solutions, which will help them give consultations fast, but at the same time of higher and higher quality without missing any key diagnoses and symptoms and so on. So they evolved consistently, and from consultations to labs to medicines is all the natural path of the user journey that we were able to follow. And as a business and as a product, we were able to remain open and ready to adapt to provide the solutions that our users needed. So although it might look very different or much larger than today than what we had definitely had when we had started.
No, that's great. And, when you guys got started and when you pivoted into the space of doing the online consultations, you guys were in fact not the only company that was doing that in India. You actually had competitors. In fact, your competitors you had companies that were started by much more experienced people than you in the domain, and there were companies that had raised more capital than you. But yet today you guys have become the number one, and many of those companies don't even exist anymore, right? So along the way, I think you made some great innovations and courageous decisions that got you to this point. Perhaps you can talk about some of some innovative models that you introduced, and in particular about some of the decision that actually required great courage for you to actually for you to become number one.
Absolutely. And so so like we always know, right? I think in the startup space, speed is of paramount importance, and getting to scale is like very, very, very critical. And we have like continuously keep following the customer, understand what the customer need is, and also execute and release all of these things much faster than what most of the competitors would do. So in a way, we are sort of fortunate. And one of the innovations around the customer also that we did was we were the first to launch a subscription program. So we call it MediBuddy Gold, which actually is a end-to-end platform, but on the top of it provides complete teleconsultation services for everybody in the family. So when we started looking at data and looking at the kind of usage, we started seeing that a lot of customers, of course, use it for themselves, but we were starting to see good data trends that people started using it for their family members. So I come, then I bring in the family member. It can be a dad, mom, let's say spouse, kids, and all of them. So we understood that that's another way to actually grow into the family. And like you always know, right, health is like a family subject, and somebody is sort of taking care of everybody in the home at different points of time. And so that was an insight. And then we like quickly capitalized on that and build out a subscription product. So I think today, one of the key reasons why we're far ahead is we're one of the largest. We are like 1 million+ subscription base now. And very loosely think like Amazon Prime, right? So once a person gets into a subscription product, he continues to stay with you longer. So once a person comes into us, all his family is on the platform. They start using for everybody in the family. So more health records get stored, then they interact more because they buy more medicines, they buy more labs. So it's a very, very holistic product, and we continue to build a lot of data on the top of it. And then that becomes like what we call as a flywheel effect that is getting kicked in. So it's one of the key reasons why we continue to sort of scale very fast. And then the second, maybe another, I spend a lot of time talking to Anand about the decision. So what happens when company starts growing very fast is you have to find ways to like get, so we call it breaking the velocity, so that you actually like become the market leader. So market consolidation is very, very critical. So we were actually sort of growing like super fast at that point of time. We had another brand called DocsApp. There's another brand called MediBuddy. So both the brands were there. And it's just that services remained the same, that is talking to a doctor, getting medicines, getting labs, but they were concentrating on different customer segments. So let's say DocsApp was another one company that was for us concentrating on retail customers, and MediBuddy was a company which was actually concentrating a lot more on corporate as well as insurance backed. So in healthcare, you can have an insurance policy. That means your insurer will pay. If you are working in a very large company, your company will pay, or you pay out of pocket. So we actually saw that there were two companies. One we were running DocsApp, there was MediBuddy. Actually, at that point of time, I was running DocsApp, and MediBuddy was sort of bigger. We were like, I think 300 employees, and MediBuddy had like 600, 650 employees. But then what we decided was we decided to buy out the company, and then we brought the two companies and merged them. So what happens, like we all know, right? When you're sort of like in the market, when you bring the two, let's say the number one, number two, in not particularly, actually was number one in different segments of customer base, and we brought them together. There was like significant synergies that we could unlock, and I would say that was one of the I think in hindsight, I was very happy that it turned out extremely well. But on that day when we were taking the decision, it was sort of tough. But we were very clear about this. You have to get to like scale, and you have to get to scale fast, and then you need to ensure that you're like miles ahead of the competition, right? And today, 3 years hence, I mean, we did that like 3 years ago, and today another reason why, even though we had raised less capital, of course, today we are the largest funded startup in the ecosystem. But when, like Anand was suggesting, when we are starting out, capital was not necessarily the key differentiator for us, and so that also helped us like acquire a lot of customers, and we got millions of customers on day one, and then we cross-sold as well as ensured that the data was utilized very effectively. So yeah, I think it's part of startup journeys, and then you need to continue to what we call as be ahead, right? Be like couple of steps ahead of what the market is doing. It looks risky at that point of time, but it's important that you continue to sort of take those bets, and then hopefully some of them, not all of them will go right, but a few of them will go right. And when they go right, I think you get like far ahead of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that decision and how we agonized over that decision, and it was very risky because it was like you were buying a company that was actually bigger than you, with significant offline, and you were diluting. Typically in an acquisition, we dilute by 10%, 20% to do an acquisition. You're not worried, but if you're diluting like half the company to make an acquisition, then that becomes an interesting company making bet, if you will. And that was one of the most courageous decisions that I've seen a company make and come through successfully. So that's hats off to you guys on that. Now, stepping back a little bit, right? If you look at India, what role do you think that technology can play overall in healthcare delivery in India and improving the overall healthcare system in India?
Sure, I'll take this maybe quickly. I think it is in a very interesting space. Both as a country, there is a lot of young population, and probably we are also at the right juncture today. And post-COVID, also even healthcare technology intersection has also increased significantly. While technology adoption was anyway going up in many sectors in the country, over the last 2-3 years, the adoption of tech in health has definitely grown significantly, and this is on both sides in healthcare, which is on the doctors and the healthcare providers side, as well as the consumers or the users or the patients as well. So we are in an interesting phase of growth and innovation in healthcare, definitely in India. And unlike other markets, the users are the decision makers in healthcare, since majority of the spend of health is still out of pocket, and which also keeps the market competitive, and companies like us very innovative in providing high quality care and at at competitive prices as well. So this is a very much a leapfrogging opportunity that we have in front of us, here in India. And again, there's a lot of things that we are focusing on today, which helps scale the tech that we're building and help the billions. We build a lot of Clara is one of our AI engines, so we build a lot of assistive tools for doctors. We have millions of records of online consultations, offline consultation, lab reports, video calls between doctors and patients, which have been used to create significant value for both patients in terms of care and outcomes, as well as for the doctors in terms of convenience and the ability to reach far corners of the country. So the penetration of tech and in general the internet has helped us, and with COVID accelerated adoption of tech in healthcare also has definitely helped MediBuddy, and as a country I'm very optimistic about what's in store in the next few years.
And just to add to that, let's do comparison, right? So the largest physical hospital group, the largest group in India actually has 72 hospitals, and they are on the top, let's say 20 cities, because yeah, that's Apollo, correct. Okay. Apollo has got that's the largest hospital chain or the hospital group in the country itself, and that is there in around like many cities, and they've got around 72 hospitals. But if you like sort of stand outside this Apollo hospital group and sort of count how many patients come in and go, because it's physical, right? That means people have to travel from all parts of the country, come to this hospital, get the right healthcare and go back, right? They would hardly help, if you read the annual reports also, they will hardly help like 15,000 to 17,000 patients a day. And then think like this, right? Apollo was started in 1983, I guess, like 40 years ago. Now, after 40 years, the largest institution in the country helps like 15,000 patients a day. And that requires an amount of infrastructure. So it's capital intensive. To build a hospital out is not going to be very easy. But then how would you make 72 hospitals grow, right? And a country like people with billion people. So then it clearly means that the only way in which, like Indra was saying, we can leapfrog is to create a horizontal technology platform that in turn integrates into a lot of hospitals. So today, MediBuddy, we are like technically 6-7 years old since the day we launched the product in the market. And so today we help more than like 35,000 patients. And you can see, right, I think the next 2 years we'll touch more than like 1 lakh patients. And we have not just 72 hospitals, we have got like 3,000 hospitals, and all of them are in different parts of the country. And we integrate to all of them. Wherever you need online, they will go online. In case you need to go physically visit them, we'll also help you to get it done. And the medical records remain the same. So today we can help like 1 lakh people at far lesser investment. And that essentially means to say that you're sort of democratizing healthcare using technology. And that's the only way you can do, right? Now you can sit in, let's say, Jammu Kashmir and talk to the top doctor in Delhi. You can sit in like southmost part of India. You can sit in Andaman Nicobar and talk to the top doctor in Chennai. And then they ensure that you get the right healthcare. And majority of the problems we can solve very fast through digital healthcare, and medicine comes to your house, labs come to your house. Of course, whenever you find a difficult, complicated problem, you also have clear now information that this is a very specific problem. This is the best specialist available. You might be in Chennai, but the best specialist might be in Bombay, or you might be in some smaller town. You can just exactly come because we are able to help you get to the right thing. So that's in a way like the power of sort of technology. And then the last point I want to add was how the world has changed, right? So in the US, you have like very high quality healthcare, but the caveat is it's very high cost. Now, when you think about India, right, healthcare is very, very important. So we still need to provide them the best quality healthcare because lives are at stake, right? People's lives are at stake. But the challenge here is US has got high quality at high cost, but India needs high quality at very affordable rates. And the only thing that can actually make that magic happen is absolutely like technology. And we are sort of excited about the kind of power that technology has. And this ensures that you're building like great solutions, as well as ensure that, of course, the vision has always been to see how we help like a billion people, and then you can help a billion people provide the best quality and at arguably the like unbelievable rates, right? So price points for them in the process. So that's how we look at healthcare and the power of technology in this industry.
Terrific. So that, there's a huge potential ahead. Just to wrap up in one final question before we hand it to the audience. And I think you touched upon this briefly as well. Can you talk about, how has IIT Madras been of help to you in your entrepreneurial journey? How have you benefited from it overall? And I'd also love to hear about, how you were able to give back to IIT Madras as well. So can you just close out with that?
No, absolutely. I think all that we are, I think we're grateful to IIT and IIT Madras in different ways, but might be sort of to think about, go back and think about. See, I think, of course, academics is like one of the best things. So I think we've got like one of the best facilities that you can ever think of. But once you start like looking about it, thinking about it, I think it disappears, right? I think we are one of the best set of friends group, and the kind of conversations that you have are unbelievable. Might be late night. It's called night outs, right? But it's very interesting to sort of talk about many things. And today, when we look back, all of those has like really shaped the way I and Inba sort of think about what work we do. And so it's like great facilities. And to build on that same facility line, I think the ability to think big sort of came from IIT. So I joined and Inba joined. That was the first year CFI was launched. So we built, at that time it was big, right? I think we built radio controlled aircrafts. And I think unless we were at IIT, I think nobody would have given us even those couple of lakhs to actually build out those tools and systems and then play around. And then that sort of became the bench, because we are like very hands-on, and then you build things on your own. And then that like tinkering, right? You're tinkering with technology all the way for next 5 years. And so the kind of resources as well as the ability to sort of think big. And I think that has like really shaped the way we have evolved. And then to talk about the alumni team, right? So whenever at any point of time, might be you're at college, and that's actually when Anand you had come and given a talk. I think you were getting the Distinguished Alumnus Award, and that's essentially the first time that we sat through the talk, and we were like super inspired. And then I went and met him later, and that's sort of the journey where it has started, right? So the alumni and alumni group has been like very supportive, might be just in funding. And the first time when we launched, so a lot of entrepreneurs in Chennai, and I went and met all of them in their offices, and they would give me advice on how to think about very simple things. I mean, today, but very important, right? I got my first term sheet, and I had to negotiate the first SHA. And then I went and sat with another entrepreneur, and he also told me, hey, Satish, look at this. Is this okay? So you've got a perspective about how to think about company. I had to set up a first board, and then we had to think about board composition, how to run board meetings. And then I went and sat with somebody else, learned about that. So I think alumni and they've been like super supportive, and that has been like consistently helping us scale. And even yesterday and today, we've been meeting a lot of them. So in a way, we're super grateful, and I and Inba like super grateful for whatever has happened, and we continue to look forward to building it for the next many, hopefully decades. So I think that is why when we were thinking about what is the right time to sort of at least show some sort of gratitude, and so that's why we thought when this round was happening, we actually sort of, the first investment that came from IIT was like 5 lakh rupees, and that is sort of the seed to like whatever you're seeing today. So we gave back around 15 crores, 14-point-odd crores, like roughly like $2 million. And the whole idea with which we gave that back was, and what resonates in my mind and in Inba's mind is, so when we started, I think Anand and the team gave us 5 lakhs for, I think, 10 companies. So might be like 50 lakhs. So might be today, world has changed, inflation has happened. So 5 lakhs might be too small. Might be let's give 10 lakhs per company. But let's say if you do 15 crores, 10 lakhs, you can do like 150 startups, right? So let's say if one company like MediBuddy, with whatever little it can provide, is able to, let's say, seed off in a way 150 companies, and then think like this 150 companies will seed another 150 each down the line, right? Or of course, startups like we know are definitely high risk activities, but at least 1 in 10 would like do amazingly well and then give like 100 new or returns on hundreds plus. So hopefully the thing that we gave back, or the amount that we gave back, would potentially help, like say 150 more startups, and then 150 more entrepreneurs should come, and then the chain reaction should sort of set off from there. And that's something that we are very, very happy about. And that is something that we are excited about in the way the ecosystem is coming along. But we're also seeing that significantly great technology as well as significantly brilliant, innovative startups are sort of coming along. And of course, it's also a little more acceptable socially also, because earlier when we were starting up was not so common. But now I think it is like a lot more better. And so we're very happy about the way we have like been able to might be a seed in the way more companies might be coming along. So that's sort of, I think, in by any points that you want to add.
Yeah, same here. I think all the good moments, all the tough decisions, IIT has been a key part of our journey, and and all the great memories and building things together is all started right from campus. So very, very excited and grateful. I'm sure we'll continue to leverage the ecosystem of IIT, the campus, as well as the alumni and foundation, hopefully for many years in the future as well.
Okay, thanks. So, any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I'll go. First of all, I want to say this is very close to home because I'm from the '81 batch, and this gift to CFI was our
Yes.
I think our reunion gift. I was quite involved in that campaign, and full circle. Last year was our 40th year, so actually right now we're in the midst of a $1.5 million reunion campaign for the 40th thing. We plan to all kind of show up on campus this year. So it's fantastic to see the fruits of that, because I don't think we had any clue what would come off it. But just the consensus in the class was let's spur innovation, because that's one thing that at that time seemed quite lacking. The other thing I want to say, it's actually quite courageous of you guys to break the mold from a predictable, I'm sure, successful corporate track you would have had, because that means not only going against a steady paycheck, but probably going against what your parents want you to do or your family wants you to do, all of that. And being an entrepreneur here, I can see, that's the best thing that can happen. You've made a choice that's, in your DNA to go out, roll the dice, and make some things happen, whether it works out or not, right? I mean, just certainly is a great experience. So congratulations on that. Question for you: what you're doing, right, is actually, I would say, very applicable even in the US, because in my experience, the healthcare system is one of the absolute most inefficient systems, where a vast amount of the expense is for administrative stuff. And some of that is because of the laws surrounding privacy and patient records, all of that. So is that an issue in India? Like, for example, what are the boundaries? For example, in our case, right, in the US, I cannot even get a family member's records access unless they give permission. And that permission is only good for 12 months. It has to be renewed every 12 months. If you forget, you're back to square one. You got to do the paperwork again. So do you have obstacles like that that prevent how broad you can get with the efficiency?
No, absolutely. And maybe, though I've thanked many times, maybe I like to thank again. Thank you for the CFI. I think in a way, it's actually spurred off a lot of work that I'm doing. And I would say a lot of my friends, so other companies are also there who also started similar time. And then CFI was sort of like the hotbed of enthusiastic tech guys coming along and then cranking up some interesting innovations. And nice. That day, it might not look like there's something that's going to come out of it, but like when I look back, I think those are all the initial seeds, and I think thankful for that. And I think more of this should definitely come along. So just to build on the question that you had asked me, so there's an interesting thing that happens in India when they compare it to US. So I'll give you maybe 2-3 examples, and the overarching line is called leapfrogging, right? So let's go back and check how telephone lines came, right? There were like copper lines all across the US, and everybody had like a landline phone, and then that was like very big in the US. But then interestingly, India did not take them up, right? So landlines were there in India, but that did not like grow like exponentially. But when this technology of mobile phone came, in fact, India adopted like far faster And today it's been ubiquitous across the country. So it's in a way we leapfrog. We didn't take the copper lines. We just took the mobile phone sort of in a way straight and took it from there in the process. Another second example I'll also give is on the payment ecosystem, right? So of course, US has always been the first country which had credit cards. You could go like swipe and then everything gets done. But if you think about India today, we have built what is called as like a UPI system. That means you don't even have a credit card, and even the cost per that credit card is not there. And you can actually transact everything with a simple phone number. So I have a phone number, he has a phone number. We would just send money to the phone number. And so, and you know, right, financial transactions are definitely supposed to be very, very security centric, and it's like real money that is being transferred. And you need to ensure that you do build technology at scale. And then you need to also ensure that it is cost effective, but more importantly, super secure. So we have been able to sort of build such a large technology-led, super safe money transacting ecosystem called UPI and many others, right? So that's an example of how we sort of leapfrog. And that's exactly what I would argue would happen in the healthcare ecosystem also. And I told you that underlying asset point being, it has to be high quality, but at the low cost. So similarly, the credit card systems are very costly, right? But in India, UPI is actually extremely cost effective from both sides, from the customer's point of view and from the merchant's point of view. So that's exactly what's going to happen. And today what's happening is all of these protocols as well as systems are built around what we call as the Aadhaar card, or the equivalent of the social security number. And then everything is connected back to that, like say, individual number. And then all of the other company, in this case, the partners, it can be a hospital, it can be a doctor, it can be a pharmacy. All of them are sort of getting onto this platform, and all of them are actually uploading, downloading this data very efficiently. And of course, security is very, very critical, and that takes care of it. And all of these privacy related laws are now being framed very effectively in the country. But the good thing is everything is on a mobile, right? You just get a tag and then you say approve, 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 right? And I think something like what you do for UPI. So it's just that our starting base is so new that your ability to innovate, taking all the learnings from all of these markets, and you're sort of like restarting. So that's the leapfrogging concept. And that is key reason why I think India would maybe really build the best healthcare ecosystem also. And we're sort of happy that we are sort of part of that. And we are in the opportune moment, right? COVID in a way was a tough time, but COVID in a way is sort of a boon for all of these technology adoptions being like so significant. And mobile, internet, young people, that's the right mixture for India. Because you need to have, I go to Japan, or one of my investors is from Tokyo. So when I go there, they say, hey, we also have mobile phones. We also have internet. Why is there not so much innovation in my country or in Japan? It's because you need to have very young people. And because that's when you like really come up with really interesting ideas. And you're going to like question the status quo, right? You're going to ask, why should it be done that way, right? So you're going to always keep asking that question. And you're also, I mean, I read somewhere else also that in innovation, as long as aspirations are greater than resources, so in a way, we are a resource constrained country. So you're like very forced to think about extremely innovative solutions, but still not let go of security, privacy, data that has been shared with the effective guardrails. So all of that is also taken care in the way we operate. So sort of the aspiration is bigger than the resource. And so that makes us innovate. And I would argue that hopefully we will leapfrog the healthcare ecosystems also.
Great.
Right. That's perfect. Yeah. I totally get, you know, the basic infrastructure provided by the government is ensuring the authentication. Yeah, I mean, as soon as you land in India, it's OTP land. I mean, it's like you can't do anything without an OTP. Right. But that's enabling all of you guys to build on it, right? That's great.
Yes.
So I have a question as well. Once again, thanks a lot for the fascinating journey that you talked about. So switching gears back to IIT Madras, right? Like, so we are all standing on the shoulders of giants. Like each generation sort of learns from the previous generation. We reap a lot of benefits from the advice, time and efforts that the previous generation has put in. So you've seen how things have evolved over the last decade. Like, as you said, I think when we were in IIT, startups were not really the things that people would immediately get attracted to, and you guys sort of broke that barrier. Like you folk, like Swiggy, a bunch of others have all sort of done that. So switching gears to the next 10 years, or in the current scenario, right? what are some gaps that you see, or what are some points where we could further improve the thing for the current generation of students, including the interactions with the institute itself, right? Like, so what perspective can we provide, given that you've seen the world outside? Are students aware of all the different options available to them? How do they navigate these different this entire space? And how can we maybe like bring in some processes to better enable them to understand? For example, like when we had Tanmay and from our batch talk about like the placement process and how it would be helpful to actually get more of the startups that people are building to actually come as day one, day two companies. So that people are aware, or even in the pre-placement talks that people give, right? Like we still have a proliferation of large companies who get a majority of the airtime. So that was one of the things that he brought out. But just from your perspective, what are some gaps that you see? What are things that we could improve? And how can we engage with the institute to better sort of shine the spotlight on these kind of trajectories and paths forward?
No, absolutely. I think maybe I'll a couple of points and maybe I'd ask Inba to also add. So I would say a lot of things are sort of falling in place, might be in no particular order. So one is just the awareness, right? And just that acceptance that like startups are good to do. And that is sort of happening in India. Maybe there are many other ecosystem as well as actions happening in the market that's sort of helping more and more companies to, or more and more entrepreneurs to sort of think big and sort of start a company, maybe out of college, out of school, or maybe after a couple of years from the day they complete their, let's say, first job. So one, awareness is like really moving, and I think we should continue to do that as part of IIT Madras also. I think really the incubation cell that we have, and the entrepreneurship cell that we have is like a right step in that direction. Some of the other things that I also heard was, I think recently Insti has put together a concept called you can actually defer your placements. So let's say you graduate this year, you don't have to necessarily sit for this year's placement. You can potentially go do something and might be come back after 1 year or 2 years. I don't exactly remember, but that is actually something in discussion. I think if it is not done, we should definitely make it happen. If it's done, I think more and more people should take it up, which means they go out, try out a startup and then work for some time and build it out. If things do well, continue, or you always can come back after 2 years might be, and then sit for a placement, like through the placement process and all of that. Right? That's a very good way to help more people take risks, right? Take big bets that potentially can turn out to be something great down the line. And then third is essentially definitely capital is a very important thing. I think more and more people are able to now donate back in different formats, and that will continue to sort of spur a lot of this. The last one is just mentorship, right? So today, of course, I'm grateful with whatever little information or whatever little understanding I have. A lot of the recent startups that got started in 2020, 21, 22, I sort of go meet them. They come by Bangalore, meet us. So we sort of like get together and talk about what I did not know when I started. Maybe I can tell you. Of course, Anand told me a lot of them, but of course, I will tell whatever is in context. So that's like some of the things that we are sort of doing. Those are tactical ones, which is placements. So we actually had evaluated that one also, where we go to Insti and bring in a lot more, let's say, Insti team members. I think some amount of, if it's an Insti startup, I think they should at least give, might be some sort of a treatment, preferential treatment. I would argue it should be, because the ability for our new team members or new graduating students to choose a startup should be much higher than what it is today. And I think that might be a good starting new idea that can start out the ability to choose, right? And then maybe after 2 years, they can see how they want to do another startup, or they continue to become some big role in the same company. So that's sort of my points. By any points from yourself, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and I would concur as well. There are many campuses who are not IIT Madras, which has seen probably slightly higher activity on students being enthusiastic about joining startups, doing internships in startups as well. I hope to have that at IIT also sometime soon, where a vast majority prefer a startup, and especially in the early part of their career in terms of building tech, solving problems, people being excited about it more so than possibly brand names and the conventional jobs. I'm sure it'll probably happen very soon. With the buzz that's going around in the country and with more and more success stories coming out of Bangalore and Chennai, etc.
Maybe can I ask one follow-up question?
Yeah, please, Nikhil.
So, first of all, very inspiring conversation. Thank you. I was wondering about the comment Anand made earlier about competition and your scaling as well. I tried to do a startup. Anand was an investor. We didn't go very far, so we couldn't scale and we couldn't achieve that. But you're seeing a lot of competition. Tata now got 1mg. Pharmacy is there, and there are other platforms coming. Plus, you're also growing bigger. So how are you able to sustain the scale and scale even more in the face of what seems like increased competition at the surface level?
No, absolutely. So I think, like, right, when companies start growing, there are different kind of competition at different points of time. And then you need to have different, let's say, methodologies or different strategies at different points of time and different scales of the company, right? When you're making, so today we crossed more than $100 million in revenue. So which means the kind of scale that you need to do to, let's get $1 billion of revenue is very different, right? From the 100 million to the 1 billion. So today in the given context, so what has happened is the startup space, in the sense, VC funded or companies funded by private equity sort of has consolidated. That means arguably, I think by far MediBuddy is the largest player. There's another one or two players. Pharmacy is not exactly a competitor. They are like a vertical play of physical, let's call it e-commerce for pharmacy. So we are actually a horizontal play, and then we work with pharmacy. So pharmacy is a partner, 1mg is a partner, everybody else is a partner.
I see.
But so we are like the horizontal platform where patients can come get everything on doctor, offline, online, pharmacy, labs, all of them. And we are like we don't own any of the infrastructure, so we are the tech layer, and then we in turn work with a lot of partners like pharmacy and others in the process. Now, the other second point to talk about is the rest of the competition. The new competition that has come along is what I would arguably call as the existing old large businesses now trying to enter the digital ecosystem. So that is one is, let's say,
so this
Tata.
Is like the Apollo 24/7 platform.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So Apollo is like a large physical hospital, and they're trying to now move digital. That's Apollo. Tata is, of course, a very large industrial house in the country. So they acquired 1mg to actually try to enter the digital space. Reliance actually bought out another startup called NetMeds and is trying to enter the digital. Enter the digital space. But I would always argue that right? I think in the
but you would see NetMeds, and 1mg as a pharmacy like vertical competitor, a vertical player, and you would partner with them. Same.
No, we already partner with them. So based on the geography, some orders go to pharmacy because they're strong in some geography. 1mg is very strong in some other geography because they need to have inventory, logistics, warehousing, and all of them. And in some other areas, NetMeds is very strong, so we give it to them. In fact, we work with Apollo also. So Apollo is another partner for us to deliver medicines and all of it. So we are like a horizontal and they're like a vertical. And then I strongly believe innovation as well as the speed at which you can execute and your ability to take multiple bets are far higher in an entrepreneur-led company versus a very large organization. It's true. Definitely. They have a lot more capital. And this is, I would argue it's like a Walmart, Amazon sort of play, right? Walmart is very big physical infrastructure. Amazon is like very big in the digital infrastructure, and there's always like a tussle, right? And then Amazon out executes from an innovation and speed point of view, is my sense. So similar is essentially what's happening. So rest of them are all existing large capital capable companies, which is trying to enter the digital because they are not in they lost the digital race. So they're trying to like buy out a company and then try to enter the digital space, which I would argue at least you have like a fair chance at it. And there have been data points to prove that entrepreneur-led, I think raw energy, along with, of course, innovation, speed of execution, ability to take like big bets are sort of the right way for a digital company to be the winner, or digital first DNA company or tech first DNA companies to be a winner. And that's hopefully that's what we argue would be the final winner in a way in the ecosystem now.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, quick
Yes,
one. Have you considered, and this is maybe a natural thing for you to looked at, is licensing and internationalizing in some way, especially in countries that could really use this, right? I mean, like the less developed countries even, where it may not be the biggest market opportunity, but it may be a relatively easy entry to license and localize it, if you will. Have you considered that? Versus, of course,
Yeah.
obviously going to the big developed markets, that's a more market-driven thing, but yeah.
Yeah, as we speak, I think we are focused on our country, on India, because it's a very, very large market, and you're still sort of touching the surface of this market today. But what you said is very interesting. So we have also looked at, so when we look at the expansion, because the technology stack remains the same, on one side you bring customers, on the other side you integrate to doctors and pharmacies and labs, which might be different in different countries, but you go to that country, you onboard them. I think very similar to like an Uber model or an Airbnb model, where the technology remains the same. You bring in more customers as well as local partners on either side of the marketplace. So we would arguably sort of, I think the great opportunity or the great growth will going to come from Southeast Asia, Middle East, and North Africa, South America. Right? We may not necessarily look at sort of developed markets, because one, regulations are very, very tough in these markets, and then definitely a lot more competition exists. So as a startup, I think you should just focus on your right to win in the market, right? That's very important for you to look at. So we might look at these markets as potential entry points, and our tech is sort of very, very well robust now. And maybe in the next 18 months plus, we should sort of think about entering might be one more market. Yeah, Inba.
For sure. I mean, if that's going to be a big bet as well, possibly I'll reach out to the alumni with respect to, giving us context in expanding to other markets. So we are also lucky in some sense to have investors also from globally across the region. So over the years, right from angel investors to seed, Series A, we have a global set of investors. So hopefully that will also help us get some of the context in other markets.
All right. Any more questions from the audience?
No questions, but I'd like to, thank Anand and Enba and Satish for sharing your story, because it is very inspirational. Of course, I've known it offline. I've not directly interacted with you guys, but you are a great example of what IIT Madras Incubation Cell has produced and what you've actually executed. And equally important, as Anand brought out, what you've contributed back to the ecosystem. And thank you for doing that, because that is equally inspirational as doing the work that you've been doing, because there are others like you who are waiting and ready to, do this, and they need to hear from folks like you, just like you did from Anand, the same thing that you are doing now for the next generation. And so thank you for doing that, and please stay engaged with them. So when they come calling on you in Bangalore, make sure you welcome them as much as Anand welcomed you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And and we're also very grateful for that. And we also feel very happy about it, because sort of the questions that sometimes I asked Anand and many others is sort of what he's asking me today, right? I think because when you're like a 50-member company, and then you suddenly went to like a 300-member company and a 500-member company and a 1,000-member company, everything changes. The systems, the processes, everything changes. And all of these are like very interesting problems that I had to go through and Enba had to go through. But of course, today I think we should tell them, okay, just do this. This will work because of ABCD reasons. And then you'll just save your time, right? Save yourself so much more effort. But we are very happy that we're able to sort of, we call it, sometimes they say you can't pay it back, so you pay it forward. So I think we should pay it forward now.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Echo the sentiments here. I've been honored to meet all of you and have this conversation. And thank you very much, Anand, also for sparing some of your time and running this session, for us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
And Suvinay can speak to this, but we will record this and share it more broadly, so that it's been a fantastic session. I think people will be really inspired to and excited to hear your story.
No, absolutely. I think
Absolutely.
it's been a very heartening conversation to hear from both of you. And an extra thank you for joining us late on a Sunday night from all the way from India. So thanks a lot for making time. And yeah, very excited to see all the work that you've done over the last decade, and can't wait to see all the successes in the coming decade and decades after that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think this is just day one in different format. I think a lot of stuff to do as a country and in the healthcare space. I think we're all getting started. We have a lot more things to do now. And thank you for all the support and thank you for inviting us. And thank you IIT-M-Foundation and because in a way and thank you 1981 batch because it's specifically there. So in a way all of this is sort of coming as a full circle for all of us and very happy to be here and look forward to many more such conversations.
I love the day one comment at the end. Just channeling just let's hope you go and transform India and get that low cost, affordable healthcare to everyone in India. That will be an amazing contribution to India and to the whole world, I think.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
We look forward.
Yes, I want to thank you
Great.
too. And just your vision of serving 1 billion people is admirable. And at the same time, it seems achievable the way you both are just moving so strongly forward and doing what you've done already. That's very exciting. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks,
Thank you all
Andrea, and
for
thanks,
organizing this. Yeah.
Bye.
Right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. See you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.